The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, friends, family, allies, and enemies. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On No Wake Up Radio. Brother, you got ripped off, and you can give me a sound check, please. Let me greet the people who are in the chat. BB488 brother, you got ripped off. BB488 to Sister Najee, BB488 to Sister Vanessa, BB488 to Salah Houdin Abdul Aziz. Greetings to you, brother. And okay, that's everybody that's in the chat. That's not everybody that's listening. I guess some people are not in the chat. So let me get started before we get started by making an announcement. And I did put it up on the community page already for once, but our brother Irritated Genie will be in Springfield, Illinois on October 12th. This is part of his African Survival in the 21st Century lecture tour. This Saturday, October 12th, 2024, 2 p.m. Central Time to 6 p.m. That's an approximate time. And it will be at the Ruby Community Center. It's 1520 East Washington Street, Springfield, Illinois, 62703. And this will be a free event. So again, that is this Saturday, October 12th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time at the Ruby Community Center, 1520 East Washington Street, Springfield, Illinois, 62703. Also, I talked to Brother Jenny earlier today. He will be, he plans to come on tomorrow on his Rumble and Twitter page. So check that out. Irritated Genie at Rumble, Irritated Genie at Twitter. He will be over there. And I believe the topic of discussion will be about Haiti. So that is the announcement. And for those who weren't listening last week, we are, of course, now monetized. So I thank everyone who is listening, because every view and every minute that you tune in, now I'm no longer doing the work for free. For those who are, and I need to actually check to see if anybody is actually over on the Instagram side. We are live streaming on YouTube and Instagram. So if anybody can check the Instagram for me and tell me if we have viewers over there, I would greatly appreciate it. And now I will begin to get started. So tonight I want to talk about BB488, Brother Kevin. What I want to talk about is, and of course, I have put up a video about this, one of the rare times I've done the inverse. Normally the live streams come first and the videos come from it. But I really want to dig into this plot to destroy the AES and to recolonize Africa. And this isn't some wild conspiracy theory because the people publicly stated that they want to recolonize Africa. Oh, brother said, "Oh, my bad, brother. I'm just trying to get to the work." All right, we got background music. Can y'all hear that? Are we good with the background music? All right, cool. I can hear it. All right, now, my bad. Back on point. Now, this is not some wild conspiracy theory, but we have, documentation. It's been said publicly, out loud, not by one person, but by two people in two different countries. So appreciate that, brother. So that's what we're going to get into. We're going to look at what was said, who said it, and then look at what we're seeing on the ground, on the continent, and why they want this destroyed. Now, the only thing I don't have, I do not have a copy of the video of Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida. That's MattGaetz. He spoke about bombing Niger. When I find that video, when I find an article, I'll do a radical report on that. So be on the lookout for that. Now, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm getting rusty. My researching skills are getting rusty or something. But I'm having a very difficult time lately finding information from on the ground in Africa. Now, I'm going to tell you why that is important later on. Because I don't think it's a coincidence. But I know it's not a coincidence. And we're going to talk about that. So let's start off with Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, right? And his comments. And we're going to get into this article first. An article states, this from The Intercept. Now, this was way back at the beginning of the year in February. It says, Eric Prince calls for U.S. to colonize Africa and Latin America. What could possibly go wrong? Now, it says Eric Prince. Now, this was deep. This picture was at the Conservative Political Action Conference from March 2023, right? At the National Harbor in Oxon Hill. I know exactly where that is. Like, exactly where that is. So he was here in the area, and he probably stays out in Virginia, being completely honest, because he's one of those, like he's plugged into the, what they call the military industrial complex. Let's put it like that. So he's very plugged into that. He basically he runs a mercenary company. He's a mercenary. That's what he does, right? Now, let's get to it. Says Eric Prince has been many things in his 54 years on Earth, the wealthy heir to an auto supply company, a Navy SEAL, the founder of the mercenary firm Blackwater, which conducted a notorious 2007 massacre in the middle of Baghdad, the brother of Betsy DeVos, Donald Trump's Secretary of Education, a shadow advisor to Trump, and the plaintiff in a lawsuit against The Intercept. Let's stop right here. There was so much in that first paragraph. Look, I don't actually went bad. There was so much in this first paragraph. Let's read this again, because there's a lot here, right? A wealthy heir to an auto supply company. Okay, there's a lot of those people, not auto supply, but a Navy SEAL. All right, that's impressive. a rich guy who happens to be a Navy SEAL. See, now psychologically, and he's a founder of a mercenary firm. Psychologically, this guy thinks that he's some type of real life Batman. You can just tell that because he inherited money, he goes to join the military, and then he starts a mercenary firm, right? You see what I'm saying? So this is the type of person that we're dealing with. This is a person that's used to getting their way, that used to, as he would say, getting things done. And that is the reason why I want to bring this up, because this is a dangerous individual. This isn't some random Joe Schmo talking out the side of his neck, right? This is a person that has the potential to cause problems in a country. And as they have stated here, they said that his firm conducted a massacre in the middle of Baghdad. So I haven't heard him say anything that he had any qualms or about what took place, and maybe he has, and I missed it because 2007 is a long time ago, so that's highly possible. But something in the training that they received from him, because they had to receive training from him to work for his company, led them to believe that they could commit those acts on foreign soil. So I'm just saying, we just got to understand what we're dealing with here. So when we hear what he says, I don't want people to be of some type of under some illusion that this guy's not serious. Or he's not a threat, or he's not dangerous, or he's incapable of actuating what he's talking about. Now, here's the second part of the equation, right? The brother of Betsy DeVos, who was Donald Trump's Secretary of Education, and he's a shadow advisor to Mr. Trump. Now, this is a problem. This is a huge problem. And we're going to see why it's a huge problem in a minute. Now, let's think about it. The clip that I'm going to show after we go through the article is part of a 17-minute, at least the part I saw was part of a 17-minute interview. And it's probably a longer interview than that, because 17 minutes is a weird time frame. And what they're talking about, the subject matter is basically talking about the border security, how the border is unsafe. And then he starts talking about these other countries being stable or unstable, and that causes people to want to come to America. Now, what I didn't see was any acknowledgement of the West hand in destabilizing countries. I did not see any of that. So maybe that's on some other clip, because I watched the whole 17 minutes, right? But I didn't see anything about that. So I don't know. That's all I can say. I don't know. Now, it says last November, Prince started a podcast called Off Leash, which in its promotional copy says he brings a unique and invaluable perspective to today's increasingly volatile world. Unique, without question. Invaluable, that's questionable. Although I must say, sometimes you actually want to hear people declare themselves to be your enemy. So, you know what I'm saying? So you aren't caught off guard, right? So I guess it is invaluable, because otherwise, if someone told us that they're planning to recolonize Africa, and we didn't have this information, it would be labeled as what? Conspiracy theory and what? Misinformation, because everything now that they don't want you to know about is misinformation. So we're going to look at this after we finish reading, and we're going to see it's not misinformation. It's not conspiracy theory. It's not AI generated. It's just his opinion. Now, it says on an episode last Tuesday, of which would have, I guess, been February 3rd. Oh yeah, I just thought about something. My bad. if this was in February and he said it during Black History Month. I mean, I just, that's ironic, you know? Now, anyway, it says, his unique and invaluable perspective turned out to be that the U.S. should put the imperial hat back on and take over and directly run huge swaths of the globe. Yeah, that's what he said. Here are Prince's exact words. If so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say we're going to govern those countries because enough's enough. We're done being invaded. You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves. Right. And so that's what he said. Right. And he didn't back up off of it. Right. You can dig up this is the whole 17 minutes on YouTube that they got on the thing. So you can go watch the whole thing. Prince co-host Mark Serrano then warned him that listeners might hear his words and believe he means it. People on the left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Eric Prince is talking about being a colonialist again. Prince responded, absolutely yes. Then added he thought this was a great concept, not just for Africa, but also for Latin America. Prince and Serrano either do not know or do not care that previous bouts of European flavor colonialism led to the deaths of tens of millions of people around the world. Right? So, and they are talking about Nazism, but look, we bypassing all that. The tens of millions is an understatement. Again, I think I need to put the link for the other video in here so you can see the visuals of what colonialism is. We don't understand generally what colonialism was because the reality is we haven't compared notes, right, with people on the continent that went through colonialism. And a lot of people on the continent haven't told their children and grandchildren what it was like, right? So some of those stories don't get told, but the visual documentation is still available, right? So the thing that's wild is that when you look at the massacres and the torture and the brutalization that occurred during colonialism, because this is just a historical fact, they look very similar. If you are here in America and you see pictures of not during slavery, but pictures during segregation, Jim Crow, right? Very similar. And this was throughout the continent. Even some of the same behavior took place during the wars against Ethiopia, between Ethiopia and Italy, right? So this behavior that if let's say you're in Kenya and you say, when they were here, they were doing XYZ, and you're in Jamaica and you say, my grandmother told me that back in the day XYZ, and you're from Mississippi and you're like, my grandfather told me XYZ. If we all sat at a big table of black people from around the world and compared notes, we'd be shocked at how similar our stories are, right? But because things are labeled different things, so over here it's enslavement and over there it's colonialism, we think we're talking about two different systems. We're talking about the same system being utilized with different but related methodologies, right? So now let's get back to the article. He says Princess Serrano I got past that. Like the previous enthusiasts of imperialism, Prince is completely blind to his own motivations and where they inevitably lead. He doesn't want to do this for Africa's benefit, you see. No, It's because if you go to these countries and you see how they suffer under absolute corrupt government, they're criminal syndicates. A lot of them deserve better, quote unquote, which is what Prince said. This was the rationale for Britain's so-called white man's burden, which I haven't heard that term in so long. It's like, it's kind of funny. Like, I hadn't heard that in so long. And have you ever come across a concept that sounded so ridiculous that you just never even went any further into it because the concept itself is disrespectful to your mind, and you don't even want to look into the concept to see what it is in order to disabuse yourself of the concept, right? So that's how I feel about the burden thing. Yeah, I know, brother, I have my phone on, that's, but it's not on anymore, right? So yeah, that's how I feel about the whole quote unquote white man's burden concept. It's anyway. Oh, but by the way, brother, you got ripped off. Could you hit some of the Telegram groups and let them know that we are on? I did it earlier, but I'm not, I don't know if people saw. So, but yeah. Anyway, let's get back to this. He says, this curious psychological phenomenon is famously portrayed in Heart of Darkness, the 1899 novel by Joseph Conrad, which I have never heard of. The book's narrator, Charles Marlowe, describes his voyage up the river into the interior of an unnamed African country that is obviously Congo in the process of being colonized by Belgium. Marlowe explains, it was just robbery with violence, aggravated deletion on a great scale. I mean, not great as in positive, but great as in grand as a lot of people. The conquest of the earth, which mostly means that taking it away from those who have a different complexion or slightly flatter noses than ourselves, is not a pretty thing when you look into it too much. What redeems it is the idea only, an idea at the back of it, not a sentimental pretense, but an idea and an unselfish belief in the idea, something you can set up and bow down before and offer a sacrifice to. Marlowe attempts to find out what happened to Mr. Kurtz, an upriver colonial agent. When he arrives, he finds Kurtz is living in a villa surrounded by heads stuck on spikes. Marlowe learns that Kurtz has written a report for the International Society for the Suppression of quote-unquote savage customs. It begins with Kurtz declaring, by the simple exercise of our will, we can exert a power for good, practically unbounded. Now, mind you, the contradiction, people have been unalived and he's using their remains for decorations while talking about unbounded good. Before long, it degenerates into an exhortation to quote-unquote exterminate all brutes. This is fiction. In reality, Belgium's quote-unquote well-meaning imperialism, which there was no such thing, caused the extermination of 16 million Congolese. We have the documentation from Del Jones. It always seems to work this way. For instance, here are a series of 2003 quotes about the Iraq War from Mississippi's Trent Lott, then the GOP Senate Minority Leader. I asked Mississippi, this is March 27th, I asked Mississippians of all faiths to pray for all our coalition forces and Iraqi people as they engage in an intense but noble battle against what is nothing but sheer evil. We went in there to quote unquote free those people. If we have to, we just mow down the whole okay. So April 15th, they say we went in to free those people. October 28th, if we have to, we just mow the whole place down and see what happens. Serrano at least is more in touch with the grimy reality of what they're talking about. And he excitedly mentions how America could bring lesser nations, quote unquote, the professionalism they need to capitalize on their natural resources. In any case, Prince's words illustrate that we're living in a time in which many of humanity's worst ideas, no, not humanity's idea, because let's stop right here. Hold on. Wait. This is not a humanity idea, right? This is humanity didn't decide to go around and just, take other people's stuff before they the RBG. No, that wasn't humanity. No, it was Europeans. Europeans colonized Africa. It wasn't humanity. It was Europeans. Like, let's stop. What did Bob Baruti call it? Euroversalizing, right? Negativity or wrongdoing or bad behavior, right? That's what happens. Europeans do something, and then all of humanity gets blamed, right? Like, everybody else has things they've already done that they could be blamed for, but saying all of humanity, that there wasn't a native of the Amazon basin that came over to Congo and obliterated people. That didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It was Belgium. It was, what are they called? Dutch? Is that them? Whatever the Belgium is, right? Whatever So, yeah. I know it's a small point, but it's a big point, because what it does is it takes the blame and the guilt for what took place from the people that did it and tries to spread it to everybody, as if everyone has done that. We don't have any record of, like, let's say the Cherokee, you know what I'm saying, going to Russia and conquering it and just going buck wild. You know what I'm saying? There's no historical documentation of this stuff. So what are we talking about here? And they certainly, even if they did, they didn't write out a doctrine and leave it down and say, yeah, this is how you should do it, and bring it up every 100 years or so. So come on, man. Anyway, let me get back to the article, because we got a lot more articles and I haven't got started yet. Now, it says fascism. Wait, no, hold up, my bad. In any case, Prince's words illustrate that we're living in a time where many of quote-unquote humanity's worst ideas, ones we thought were long dead and buried, have risen from the grave and are now staggering about. Fascism, maybe things went off the rails last time, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's see. What else did he talk about? Is there anything else worth talking about here? Okay, say later in the show, Prince also resurrects another old popular favorite. The enemy within is an enemy with the enemy without. Let me read that again, because wait a minute. The enemy within is in league with the enemy without. Then he says, Prince said, you get the BLM and the Hamas militias of the Democratic Party very active in the United States this summer. When that BLM or Hamas militia shows up, start wrecking things, you show them what law and order looks like immediately. What? What? Y'all help me out. Okay. I don't like Black Lives Matter. But somehow tying Black Lives Matter to Hamas is wild. If I do say so, that's just wild. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how you take those two things. Like, that's just. And first of all, we're not gonna go into what Black Lives Matter is, but we know who funds it. So what we're gonna do is, because the back end of that was just so crazy that there's no need to even listen to nothing else. Let's just go to the video and hear Eric Prince in his own words.
It ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Who is governed? Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. they're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country a better
People on the
land.
left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Eric Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Enough.
All right. I just wanted to play that so you don't say, hey man, you know you're making up stories and he didn't really say that, and we all heard that loud and clear, right? Okay. And brother Kevin says, what does BLM have to do with Hamas? Right? I got nothing. Don't ask me, ask Eric Prince. I don't know what the back end of that was. Like, I don't know. So you're like, all right, DC, all right, one random mercenary who is well trained in removing people from the planet says something. But that doesn't mean anything, man. I mean, what are you talking about? There's nothing to see here. Former French general calls for a renewed commitment to Africa, right? General Lecointre, formerly, my tongue is just struggling right now. Formerly the chief of staff of the French army, fears that Europe is abandoning its responsibility to the continent at a critical time. The Sahel, encompassing the countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, have long grappled with jihadist violence. I wonder why, and political instability. I wonder why. The rise of new players like Russia and China on this African stage further reinforces Lecointre's belief that Europe must re-engage militarily to defend its interests. Let's just stop right here. Let's stop right here. What's wrong with this picture? A French general is saying that they have interests in Africa. I wish I had the Dr. Umar, I beg your pardon quote that I could just load up. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You don't have any interests. Your interests are in France, right? This goes back to the old thing, what people used to say. You're fighting for what Americans used to say. You're fighting for my freedom in Iraq. How did my freedoms get over there? I'm in America. So we are already starting off on the wrong foot. Now, again, remember, we got one mercenary who's saying this in America, and we got one Frenchman. So obviously, this has been discussed and discussed long enough that now it's like, okay, we can put it on the table. Now, what's the problem here? If you're going to discuss these things, because here's the thing, it's not every country that they're worried about. It's just not. They're worried about a group of countries for a very specific reason. And he mentions it here in the article. They talk about the countries of the Sahel, right? Now, let's get back to it. He says, the Mediterranean Sea and Africa represent Europe's common destiny. Our future is intertwined. He laments the failure of European commitments in the Sahel and emphasizes the need for a unified European approach to navigate a turbulent world. With potential shifts in U.S. foreign policy on the horizon, Lecointre argues that Europe must become capable of taking charge of its own destiny regarding military matters and the promotion of its values. Let's stop right here. The promotion of European values, right, is what what is the promotion of European values? According to Eric Prince, it's colonialism. That's European values. So these people are literally saying the same thing. Just, they're speaking two different languages. And many of our people and leaders are unaware that this is taking place and don't know what's going on. Here's the reality of the situation. If we are naive enough to believe that our people on the continent could have leadership that actually believe in African sovereignty, and they wouldn't face opposition from European powers, I just don't know where we've been for the last half a millennia or so. Right? I mean, the number of leaders who have been sacrificed by our enemies is so long that, I mean, we'll be here all day. And the reality of it is there's usually an internal enemy that is the one that causes the downfall of our people. Right? You talk about Thomas Sankara, Blaise Compaoré. Right? Patrice Lumumba. The dude, Mobutu Sese Seko. And on and on. Like I wasn't thinking about it, but I could play those videos and we could see that. But try and do less video because we monetize. Not trying to share the little bit of change that may fall in my pocket. Right? So let's just get back to this article. Lecointre sees several compelling reasons for European involvement in Africa. He highlights the constant struggles with state collapse, civil wars, and climate change. Furthermore, Africa is poised for a massive population boom, which Lecointre warns will have significant consequences for Europe in the coming decades. Let's start right here. Again, we come to the same thing. Again, most of these countries emerged from colonialism in less than 100 years ago, right? Talking about starting from about 1955 to now, so 70 years at the longest. And let's just be honest, because we read our Confessions of an Economic Hitman, the disruption and the intervening in the affairs of these states has not ceased since. So if Africa is struggling with state collapse and civil wars and whatever else, it's usually because other people are intervening in their affairs and causing problems. But I noticed that there's no discussion of that. But anyway, let's move forward. Europe should act as a political entity that defends its own interests, including through military commitment. Now, again, that sounds great, but your interests are in Europe, right? The idea that Europe has interests in Africa, no, right? That's like me saying, that's like me looking at a dude in my neighborhood and he's walking with his wife, and I'm looking at his wife and I'm like, I got interests over there in his house. No, I do not have interest in his house. You know what I'm saying? And if I have interest in his house, whatever that he has to do to cause disinterest in me is appropriate. And I state that whatever the people on the continent have to do to dissuade the type of interest that this person is discussing is appropriate, because the idea that you have interest in someone else's country as if you have a right to whatever it is you think that you need and that you're just going to take it is a ridiculous concept to me. I don't know how more people aren't outraged and are looking around like, is this dude serious right now? Like this I don't know why I'm dumbfounded at the audacity of these individuals, but I am. And this is not new information to me, but just reading over it's just like, man, are you serious right now? Like, are you serious? But I know they're serious. That's why I'm doing the show, because they're very serious. Like, they're not joking at all. Anyway, let me get back to the article. It says, the courtier, oh no, I already went past that. My bad. Let's go down. Says the withdrawal of French and European forces from the Sahel is a quote-unquote failure in Lecointre's eyes. He advocates for a more comprehensive approach, acknowledging that past efforts fell short. We must return and help those African countries. Bruh. What are you talking about? Help. Help? That's the word that's what you call it? Man. Please. Anyway. Rebuilding state structures, restoring administration. That means putting puppet regimes that we control back in power. Now, hold it. Here we go right here. Let's stop right here. Rebuilding state structures and restoring restoring administrations literally means removing the governments that are in place now in the AES and returning the puppet regimes to power. That's what that means. It's just flowery language, but that's what it means. He expresses skepticism that countries like China and Russia, along with the Wagner Group, can offer lasting solutions to Africa's problems. But here's the reality situation. Africa has solutions to Africa's problems, but you're in the way. You've been in the way. And now that you're out the way, you're trying to get back in the way. Brother, let's see, what did brother say? Brother, you got real talk, got jokes. And RBG says, let's see what the brother said real quick. He always has salient points. Says they want the population to collapse so it justifies obvious societal calamity that would befall such a collapse. Bruh. Yeah, there's the same group of people that say there's too many people on the planet, and in what they said 2050, which is only 20 years from now, we're going to be too many of the too many people. you know what I'm saying? Just play this simple. We're going to be the too many of the too many people. Now, says Lecointre retired from military service in July 2021, concludes by emphasizing Europe's obligation to return to Africa and work collaboratively toward a more secure and prosperous future. Man, that was such a load of malarkey that I don't even want that page up. Let's move forward. Now, let's see what's really going on. Says Niger revokes French nuclear group's license to at major uranium mine. See, this is the real reason why they want to return. Because what we don't know is that France electricity is based on nuclear. And so they have been getting, and I wish I had the numbers, but they were getting uranium from Niger at the price of, I believe, something like 18 or 20 cents gram, I think, something like that. Like it's something like astronomically small, when the actual market price is like $200 per, like $200 per, right? And they get it for like 18 cents. So, I mean, just a ridiculous amount of. I mean, they're just basically just robbing the people. Man, use all these type of big words. They're just robbing the people. Robbing the people blind. B48 to Brother Tony. And now they can't do that. So let's read this article. It says removal of Orano license highlights tensions with France, with Russia said to be eyeing the major site. Now it says Niger's military government has revoked the operating license of French nuclear fuel producer Orano at one of the world's largest uranium mines as it continues to cut ties with former colonial power France. State-owned Orano said on Thursday that it had been ordered out of the Imoraran mine in northern Niger, which sits on an estimated 200,000 tons of the metal. Let's just stop right here. I don't even think we understand. 200,000 tons of uranium in a world where nuclear power reigns supreme. It's literally that. It's like having vibranium. It's like being Recolonize. Brother, you got ripped off says in 2010, Niger received only 459 million, 13% of the value from Ariva's 2 mines, despite producing uranium worth 3.5 billion euros or 4.3 billion US dollars. So basically 10% of the value. That was in 2010. They've been robbing the people blind, right? But now taking control of their resources. It also says only 5.8% of GDP. Wait a minute, hold on. Say that again. Say Niger's government and civil society consider the partnership to be unbalanced, with uranium represent 70% of the country's exports, but only 5.8% of the country's GDP. Right. So yeah, thank you for that documentation, brother. Yeah. So again, that just is what we said. Been robbing the people blind, but now they're taking back the resources, and that's why Lecointre is talking this backwards nonsense that he's talking about. Again, 200,000 tons estimated. I mean, just they're not sitting on a gold mine; they're sitting on something beyond the gold. Reporting from Abuja, Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris said the Nigerian Ministry of Mining had warned it would revoke Orano's license if development of the mine had not started by June 19th. Orano insisted in a statement on Thursday it had been recently resumed activities at the site, reopening infrastructures to accommodate construction teams. Its work in line with the wishes of the government, which came to power in a coup in July last year. And I believe this might be an old article. Mining was meant to have started in 2015, but development was frozen after the collapse in world uranium prices in the wake of the 2011 Japanese disaster, when a tsunami hit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in the northeast of the country. The Nigerian government's decision to revoke Orano's license may have wider geopolitical stakes. As Al Jazeera's Idris noted, relations between Niger and the former colonial ruler took a nosedive after the coup. The Nigerian government ordered the French ambassador to leave. Vamoose skedaddle. That was followed by the eviction of several hundreds of French soldiers based in Niger and the shutting down of all French bases in Niger. The government, which was increasingly turned to Russia and Iran for support, pledged to review foreign mining concessions in the country that after it took power in July. Now, said Idris, it seems to be targeting French businesses. Russian companies have indicated interest in a uranium mining site in Imoraran, and we've seen a flurry of activities between Russian businesses and Russian mercenaries in Niger, which can point to the direction where this new license may end up. Orano has been present in Niger since 1971. A uranium mine in Arkokin has been closed since 2021, but Orano runs another uranium mine in the northern region of Arlit, despite what it terms logistical difficulties. Now, let me stop right here for a minute. One interesting thing that won't be talked about in this article is that Russia has stated, and I didn't have that article up because I didn't think the discussion would lead here, so that's my fault. But Russia has stated that they are willing to share nuclear technology with Burkina, which means they also would be selling it with the rest of the AES, which is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They're all one political entity now, for those who are unaware, for the purpose of for power, for to bring electrical across the country. So, which means across the whole region. So, when you look at it, right, the idea that Niger nationalizes their mines with a invaluable resource, and by the way, Burkina has nationalized 2 gold mines, and Mali's trying to secure gold mines from that are being attacked by they say ISIS and other related entities. What we have here is people taking solid steps toward sovereignty, right? If you can use the resources you have to improve the lives of the people that you're governing, you ensure the loyalty of those people. And you enter the world stage as a power, because let's just be honest. Let's take Iran for an example. There's been a lot of discussion lately about Iran and their nuclear power research that they're doing, and Israel talking about bombing Iran's nuclear sites, and there's been a lot of discussion about not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. You know why? Because then it's an even fight, and they're on an even playing field. The reality of the situation is, and we have talked about this previously, the difference between the countries who are ruling and the countries that are ruled is military technology. The reason that Israel can be where they are, despite having, as they state, all of these hostile entities surrounding them, right? All these people that politically have don't have the same interest that Israel has, right? It's because Israel has the latest military technology that they developed and the latest military technology that the United States has. And that military advantage is why they're able to do the things that they do. Now we're not talking about Israel tonight. We're not going to beat the morality of those things, or who did what, any of that stuff. I was going to do a show talking about that whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe later. But anyway, let's get back to the article. Now it says Niger, which accounts for about a quarter of the natural uranium supply to Europe, is landlocked, and its border with Benin, its main sea access, is closed, hindering export of its mineral. The government says this is for security reasons. Orano said it's prepared to keep open all channels of communication with the Niger authorities on the subject, while reserving the right to contest the decision to withdraw the license. I mean, again, you can contest it. You can protest and say, "Hey, man, why y'all doing X, Y, Z?" But let's be real. You don't have any rights. You know, the government in this situation can do what they like. So now we see here that, oh, my bad. What do you say, brother? I can't do that show. It's supposed to be monetized. Hey, man, so every show can't. You know, you can switch on and off monetization. Every show ain't gonna be monetized. You already know that. I know that. Everybody know that. They know that. So, you know, when I do that show or video or whatever I do, yeah, you know, just be doing it to tell the truth. So we're gonna, because we're only gonna be 2 hours, and I'm moving extremely slow. I just do want to say that this is the center, and I'm DC Radical 1. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.Radical1, on Twitter at DC_Radical_ONE, on OTW2, which is a free speech Black-owned platform, at DC Radical 1. You can donate via Cashapp at $DC Radical 1. And of course, you can email me at DC.Radical_1 at protonmail.com. Now, what I wanted to, one thing I wanted to talk about, because I think we have established, right, that there is without a doubt opposition to Africa's stepping towards sovereignty. I want to talk about something that's related, but probably may seem like it's not related, but it is related, because to me, and it says Google bans Africa Stream, locks prominent media group out of workspace. To me, I'm trying to think of the quote, but somebody said, in war, the first casualty is the truth. And so we have discussed that people have basically declared war on Africa again. And so in order for us to know what's going on, something like Africa Stream would be one of the first places to tell us what's going on. Well, Africa Stream is not going to be telling us what's going on Instagram or YouTube or I think the only place they may be left, if I'm not mistaken, is I think. Okay. I just got a notification that Instagram disconnected the stream. Maybe because we passed the 1 hour mark. Maybe because they don't like what I'm saying. I'm not sure. So, hey. So if you were watching on Instagram, I hope you come on over to YouTube and join us, because I don't know what to say. But all I can say is this isn't the first time. So much for, oh, wait a minute. Did I just talk about Africa Stream not being on Instagram? Man, they really are watching. I mean, that was quick. I barely got it out. I just said Africa Stream. Man, I am popular in certain places, I see. Oh, well, if y'all don't see me on Instagram tomorrow morning, you know what happened. That is wild, man. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence that as soon as I mentioned Africa Stream not being on Instagram and Facebook, that they like, yeah, you ain't on here either. How about that? So anyway, brother, you got ripped off saying Africa Stream is on. They are on Rumble, and hopefully they'll come on over to OTW2. You know, anybody knows anybody over there, just tell them, hey man, come on over to OTW2, put some of your stuff up there. But yeah, that was wild, man. This censorship, if y'all have any doubt about this censorship, you know, you don't have any reason to doubt. So let's get back to this article. Man, that caught me off guard. That notification popped up. I'm like, huh? Anyway, Africa Stream, a Pan-African digital media organization dedicated to providing a voice for Africans, accused Google of censorship after the technology company locked the platform out of its Gmail workspace on Tuesday. The ban resulted in the loss of 2 years of emails and files stored on Google's cloud. Africa Stream said in a statement. Like other technology and social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, all of which have given us the boot in the last 2 weeks. Google did not provide any credible reason for banning us. Hold up. I didn't even know about TikTok. Instagram, here's the thing. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads are really all the same thing, or at least they're all the same coverage. So YouTube, TikTok, how do you get banned on TikTok when TikTok has been banned? It's like, man, that's wild. Oh wow. All right. But anyway, Africa Stream, known for its cutting-edge African-centered content, claims to ban as part of a broader crackdown by U.S. tech companies. I mean, what is? I love the wording, claims. How's it a claim if you've been banned by all these other things? Anyway, Africa Stream said the ban. Yeah, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who suggested the platform is influenced by Russian propaganda and labeled as the outlet as Kremlin propagandist. The company denies the claim and said it never violated any policies. How can big tech bow down to one speech by a U.S. official? Africa Stream asked rhetorically and said it operates exclusively on social media, delivering African-centered content aimed at challenging negative stereotypes and amplifying African voices across the globe. They are headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. I just want to say this. I didn't know they were headquartered in Nairobi. They want to move. They might want to move. Yeah, they might want to move. Kenya, not the place to be. You know, considering. I'm just saying. And brother KW Don says they're also on Twitter X, and they have a Patreon. So the reason I wanted to bring that up is because information war is part of war, and not allowing people to have information and not allowing them to have a voice and not allowing them to express themselves and tell the world what's going on. I mean, that's part of war. And of course, we've talked about censorship here. We talked about Mr. Durov with Telegram, him being detained in France. We talked about Julian Assange being, I mean, he was in jail so long that I actually forgot when all this stuff started. And I don't remember what else we talked about, but I guess we can just talk about us. Like, because apparently, for whatever reason, you know, they just cut the stream, cut us off on Instagram. So, hey, it is what it is. And so that's why it's really being, if we're talking about people, Africans on the continent regaining sovereignty, we also have to talk about the fact that to some degree, our people here, and here's the problem. The reality is we have people who have services here, but they are underfunded. The problem is we can't get the people who have the resources who fund the infrastructure, the nascent infrastructure that we have in place for communication, right? For tech, right? That's the reality of the situation. If we could find a way to take and marry those two things, or as the people on the continent regain their sovereignty, if we could find a way to say, hey, this is what we have here. If we could get some funding here, we can grow it better, and we can connect with people on the continent and people here. That will help a lot, because this is probably the tip of the iceberg. But you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was a fan of Africa Stream. I found a lot of the information enlightening and useful. And so when they just got summarily deplatformed, like virtually instantaneously, man, I'm not gonna lie, I was caught off guard, because I'm like, I don't consider them. They're not somebody that I consider, like, no pun intended, but I wouldn't consider them very radical. So that was wild. Brother Tony says the selfishness of the affluent among us here, or the rich, the super rich, is disgraceful. Brother, they won't. A lot of these, especially the athletes and entertainers, a lot of them don't have the intellectual capacity to understand that they could make investments in us to further enrich themselves. They don't understand that. They think that everybody's out to scam them, but I'm like, the people that's out to scam you is right beside you. You know, your managers and your portfolio managers and all that. The number of stories of athletes who, you know, had their money managed by quote unquote reputable people and been ripped off and lost money in deals with people who don't look like us. I mean, that list is long, but it's not talked about. I remember Dwight Freeney had invested in some people, the former defensive end for Indianapolis Colts, who Super Bowl champion. And this was this is a long time ago. Maybe it's 10 years ago or something. And he was talking about that, how he had been defrauded. And I don't hear about it as much anymore. But you used to hear about that every so often. And let's be honest. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't like their cousin Dave. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? Or you know, their uncle wanted to start a chicken shack and it went out of business. Like nah, because realistically, if your uncle want to run a chicken shack, chances are, even if it go out of business, it's not sending you back enough money for you to worry about, because you would have threw that money away at the club, ordering bottle service and whatnot. Being completely honest. Right. So, but anyway, I digress. I went on a tangent. You know, one day I'll do that athlete show when I feel the spirit of it. Right. I keep saying we got bigger fish to fry, but apparently we don't, because that is kind of keeping us back. So now, what I want to do is just cover some various articles about what's going on in the Sahel region, and then we're gonna close this out. So, brother, you got ripped off. Regardless of what I do, just give me that. You know, let me know at 10, because at 10 this is over. Regardless of how many of these articles I go through. Now, Burkina Faso. This was in August. I think it says last updated 8/13. So yeah, that's August. Spokesperson for the government of Burkina Faso denounced Thursday what he called the umpteenth attempt at destabilizing the Sahelian nation. He said a coup attempt had been foiled and alleged coup plotters arrested. Citing findings of preliminary investigations, Rotunda Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo said the coup was scheduled to take place on January 14th. Okay, this was a coup in January. I'm gonna be honest. They've had so many coup attempts that I'm not even, that when I picked one up, I thought this was the latest, but apparently I was mistaken. He added that the network of military officers, some retired and some active, as well as civilians and activists, conspired to destabilize the institutions of Burkina Faso. The network allegedly sought to target citizens' watch bodies to sway the support for the ruling MPSR. Foreign funding was being unblocked for the accused to proceed with their plan, the statement further reads. An undisclosed number of people were detained for questioning and technical analysis were carried out. The government spokesperson said intelligence services and defense forces were vigilant. It is the fourth coup attempt authorities in Burkina Faso have claimed to have thwarted since Captain Ibrahim Traore took over power in September of 2022. The reason I bring that up is because the latest coup that I know about, let me say that. Peace to Sister Poetry. What do you say, brother? You got rid of? Oh, the athletes. Yeah. We'll be waiting. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get more views if I talk about athletes and entertainers. Yeah, maybe I'm making a mistake. I gotta put some more famous athletes. I guess LeBron's the most famous person. You talk bad about LeBron, people show up to defend him, and I didn't have a problem with LeBron, but he hangs with some weird people. I'm just gonna say that he hangs with some weird people. But yeah, back to this coup attempt. Now, the last one I heard about, and this is not when I find the article for that, because again, finding information on Africa all of a sudden is a lot more difficult. Even trying to find the local press, you have to go scroll way down in the search engine, way down. Let's be honest, we need our own African search engine, right? Okay, look, if somebody can do it, you just steal my idea. We need a Black World search engine. That's what we need. We need a Black World search engine. You can call it what you want. Get to work. Brothers on the continent. I mean, y'all very resourceful. Make it happen. You know what I'm saying? We need a Black World search engine. So we can find the news that's going on in different places. So we can find, what's going on with our people in Jamaica, what's going on the continent, what's going on wherever. What businesses you go to, what hotels, and everything. That's what we need. I just thought about it. That's what we need, right? I mean, anybody disagree with me, y'all let me know. It's a ridiculous idea, but to me, just think about it, that's what we need. But back to the latest coup attempt. The last thing I heard was that there was an attempt again by former officers and people in the government, the former government of Burkina, and they met. The meeting they had was in Ghana. So to my Ghanaian brothers and sisters, I mean, what's really happening? So we've known that the leader of Ghana, man, is on the wrong side of history many times, but that was like, wow. And brother, you got ripped off says, based on the provided search results, Captain Ibrahim Traore has survived 9 assassination attempts. Like at this point, it's like that's like one every other month. Now he just marks on his calendar and we're like, all right, these people they should have regrouped and to try again. So let me look outside. I mean, this is insane. Like, we think what's going on with Mr. Trump is wild. Although people are like weirdly calm about the fact that there've been at least 2 attempts on a presidential candidate. I mean, I think that's wild, but apparently maybe it's just me. Maybe people don't think it's wild, right? But 9 is just of the leader of a country is just, I don't even know what to say. Now, I know the president of the United States gets threats, but actual attempts, not like this. So that just goes to show how many enemies he has and how desperate they are to derail what's currently taking place with the AES, what Brother Jenny calls our 3 kings. They're trying to remove one of our 3 kings literally every month by any means. Now, let's see. What in the world is going on? Oh, got some music, man. What is happening? Now, again, in the website, they started playing music randomly. That what was going on? Burkina Faso, again, in Africa news. So-called military, the government of Burkina Faso. What are we talking about here? Come on, African news, really? Suspended Voice of America. Now, brother, you got ripped off. What day was that? Was that Sunday? Where we talked about propaganda campaigns in other countries? Anyway, apparently Burkina Faso thinks that Voice of America is propaganda. says Burkina Faso's military government has suspended the U.S.-funded broadcaster Voice of America for 3 months following comments regarding the ongoing military insurgency in the Sahel region. The suspension announced on Monday also includes a temporary ban on local media using international news reports. The government, which came to power in a coup in September 2022, the second coup that year, has shown increasing intolerance towards criticism as so-called insecurity worsens. Now, hold on. Why is the insecurity worsening? The insecurity worsen or is worsening because people, you said that was Friday. Oh, okay. People are trying to destabilize the government, and the people are funded by foreigners and Western powers. So, I mean, I expected a better written article. Just be honest here. You know? So, a destabilization campaign is being waged, and a propaganda campaign is being waged at the same time the destabilization campaign is being waged. And so the country decides that, one, they're going to fight the destabilization campaign, and they've been successful doing that. So why not fight against the psychological warfare propaganda campaign? Right? I mean, am I tripping? Well, does that make perfect sense? Like, what are we talking about right now? The Superior Council for Communication accused VOA of undermining the morale of Burkina and Malayan troops during a discussion aired on September 19th. The council objected to the reporter's characterization of a recent attack in Bamako as courageous. An attack in Bamako as courageous, and claimed the security operations were unfairly criticized. Additionally, the CSC cited an unverified death toll from an August attack in Burkina Faso that resulted in numerous fatalities. In his statement, the CSC declared all synchronization of national media with international media is suspended until further notice. VOA has not responded to requests for comment. Sahel's region ongoing struggles. Burkina Faso is one of several Sahel regions grappling with violence from insurgent groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which have expanded from neighboring Mali since 2012, causing thousands of deaths and displacing millions. Public dissatisfaction over the government's failure to ensure safety has fueled military coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger since 2020. Early this year, Burkina Faso briefly suspended VOA and other international broadcasters, including BBC Africa, following a so-called human rights report that accused the military of extrajudicial elimination, a claim the government denies. Okay. First of all, let's be honest. The BBC is a media arm of a former colonial government, right? Human Rights Watch, we've talked about Human Rights Watch so many times before, is one of those NGOs that is used for propaganda and destabilization. That just is what it is. And VOA, I mean, we talked about it before. We talked about it, I guess, Friday. Again, this is a matter. It really just irritates me when anyone outside of Western nations attempt to exercise their sovereignty. Now, here's what's deep, right? Because, while they're trying to say that this is, I guess, a limitation of people's rights or whatever they're going to say. Hillary Clinton today, well, maybe not today, but Hillary Clinton recently said that the internet needs to be limited because of misinformation. Think about that. Greetings, Brother Jimmy. Hillary Clinton is talking about the entire internet. And in European countries, people are being locked up because of what they say on the internet. Right? But they're claiming that human rights are being violated in the Sahel, but they're doing what they're accusing those people of there. They're doing it like it's documented, like they've said it. If you say certain stuff on the internet in Europe, different European countries, you get locked up. Like that's just a fact. That's taking place right now. So this idea that the West is some bastion of rights and things like that, if there was ever a time when that was taking place, that time has passed. That idea that you can express yourself freely, I mean, we saw what happened tonight. We were on Instagram, and now we're not. All we said is, "Hey, Africa stream, bam." you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the rank hypocrisy, man, is astounding. To be completely honest, like it's so disingenuous that it does indeed boggle my mind. In fact, I think maybe I won't do a whole live stream, but I'll dig into those articles. I definitely have to do a radical report on that. So, and let me say this now. Y'all do me a favor. Make sure you watch the, if you haven't already watched it, make sure you watch the video, the 10-minute video with Brother Genie, and he's talking about what's going on in Haiti and Kenya and all that. It's a 10-minute video. Be sure to check that out. All right? You know, do me a solid. And you say, "Hey, I already checked it out." Check it out again. Right? Now, let me see. And I'm not gonna go much longer because the hypocrisy is irritating me. Now, here's some good news from the BBC that we just talked about. As our brother said here, chillaxing. That's a fresh shirt he got on too. I mean, he talks to their tellers. Anyway, it says Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have announced a deal with Russia, which will see them acquire telecoms and surveillance satellites. The three West African nations, which are run by our three kings, have been struggling to defeat. And look, this is what I'm talking about right here. We're talking about acquiring satellite technology. They're talking about struggling to defeat Islamists. Okay, let's say this. Who is paying the Islamists? Because they got to get their weapons from somewhere. America told us that they defeated ISIS. So how is ISIS running them up in Mali, in Niger? Who are they getting their weapons from? Who are they getting their money from? How are they able to destabilize governments and run them up and steal resources and go buck wild? No, I don't hear anyone asking that question. Like, how are the Western powers not against the Islamists? After saying that was a number one threat to America for 2 decades. Right? Let's think about that. For all this time, they've been claiming that these people are a threat. Now you have African countries who agree. Hey, like, hey, you're right. These people are a threat, and we're gonna do something about it. But then, when they come to do something about it, you disparage the people and call them all types of names. and attack their character. Anyway, it says ministers from the three countries met officials from Russia Aerospace Agency, Roscosmos, in Mali's capital of Bamako on Monday to discuss the agreement. The technology will boost border surveillance and national security in all three countries, says Mali's finance minister Aluseni Seynou. Let's try that again. Aluseni Seynou. There we go. Adding that it would enable secure communications. Islamist insurgents roam across the three countries' long, porous borders in the vast semi-arid Sahel region south of the Saharan Desert. Seynou also said the satellites will help them to monitor and respond to floods, droughts, fires, and other national emergencies. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso last year formed the Alliance of Sahel States. It was originally to boost military cooperation, but has since broadened. They have held the remote sensing satellite project as crucial for their security strategy, just days after Islamist militants attacked an airport in Bamako, far from the areas where the jihadists normally launch their assaults. Ministers say the telecom satellite will facilitate the broadcast of television and radio signals across the three countries. See? This is what I'm saying. You turn off the propaganda from other people, and then you broadcast in your language proper communication. That's part of building sovereignty. Ministers, let's see. It also expected to provide internet and telephone services in inaccessible and underdeveloped areas within the Sahel. That's excellent. Now says Russia has been seeking to expand its footprint in Africa, especially in the Sahel, since relations between these countries and their Western allies broke down. Okay, so that's a good thing. Let's go to some more good news. All right. Burkina Faso's transitional government provides over 1,000 tractors to farmers and local producers. This is from May. It says in Burkina Faso, the transitional authorities providing support to farmers and local producers. More than 1,000 tractors, power tillers, and agricultural inputs were handed over Monday by Captain Ibrahim Traore. The agricultural equipment worth 78 billion CFA francs is part of the presidential initiative for food self-sufficiency. Again, establishing sovereignty. Details in this report by Martine Kaba from Ugu. You know what? I'm gonna really have to start listening when they say how they say this city. Ouagadougou. Hey man, yo, I'm struggling. Anyway. Oh, okay. Now you gotta listen to the audio track. Anyway, here's the reason I brought that up. I could not find an article, but I did see a video, but I didn't feel like adding the video. They did this in May. I believe that's May of this year. They just had their harvest day, like on the 3rd. So yeah, less than a week ago. They had the largest harvest that they have had in years. So they brought the harvest to and presented it to Captain Traore and had a celebration. So literally they're seeing the fruits of their labor immediately. Like, I'm not a farmer. I don't know how this normally works, but it doesn't normally work this well that you get some equipment and then a few months later you get to see like more bounty than you ever seen. But apparently that's what took place. So I just wanted to say that because it just goes to show that the programs that they're putting in place are yielding results contrary to popular belief. But this isn't the part of the narrative that they want to discuss. Thank you, brother. You got ripped off. In fact, I think I'm gonna close out at quarter of, right? But I just wanted to say that, and if I can find some video, you know, I'll post it. But I haven't found Well, I did find someone's video, but I didn't want to use it. I just put it like that. So now, let's see. Got two more articles. We'll go over at least one of them. And this is from back in August. And I think we may have talked about this before, but Niger cuts diplomatic ties with Ukraine. Niger has cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine, a move which signals a burgeoning rift between the West African states and Kyiv. Niger's military government said that it would move in solidarity with neighboring Mali, who severed their own relations with Ukraine 2 days ago. Both countries cited comments by the Ukrainian military official which suggested Kyiv played a role in the killing of dozens of Malian soldiers last month. Ukraine had been trying to win allies in Africa. Y'all got a funny way of showing it. Throughout its war with Russia, likely an attempt to counter Russia's growing influence on the continent. At the end of July, scores of Malian soldiers, along with mercenaries from Russia's Wagner group, were killed in clashes with separatist rebels and Al-Qaeda-linked militants. Right? Think about it. Now, Mali's government had turned to the notorious group in 2021, seeking support in dealing with insecurity issues, which means seeking support to deal with Al-Qaeda. Think about this. They're fighting Al-Qaeda and being criticized for it. But America told us that Al-Qaeda is the worst thing ever for 20 years. After Wagner confirmed the losses in July's attack, Andrei Yusov, a spokesperson for the Ukrainian military intelligence, said the rebels received the necessary information they needed to conduct the attacks. So Ukraine helped Al-Qaeda to attack Mali. What y'all want me to say? In response to Mr. Yusuf's comment, Mali accused Ukraine of violating its sovereignty and announced it was breaking off relations with Ukraine with immediate effect. Niger followed suit on Tuesday, with government spokesman Amadou Abdurrahman calling Mr. Yusuf's remarks unacceptable. That's one way to put it. Mali's neighbor Senegal also rebuked Ukraine. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Over the weekend, Senegal's foreign minister summoned Ukraine's ambassador Yuri Fivavarov, accusing him of supporting July's attack in Mali in a since deleted video posted on the Ukrainian embassy's Facebook page. Ukraine's foreign minister has not yet commented on Niger's decision to sever diplomatic ties. However, it called Mali's decision short-sighted and hasty and said Ukraine unconditionally complies with international law. That is false, and accused Russian-controlled outfits of numerous war crimes. Russia weighed in on the matter on Wednesday, accusing Ukraine of opening a second front in Africa. So, here's the thing, and we talked about this before, and I got a video, but I'm not going to go to the video because I'm getting ready to close up. The same Ukraine that sent that information to get the brothers in Mali attacked also has, right? Also has the same Ukraine that sent that information has French soldiers working with them against Russia. So Ukraine and France are working hand in hand against Russia. How do we know? In fact, we can kind of surmise that more than likely that France was working with Ukraine on this operation. And they admitted that they helped to delete Malayan, which means Black African soldiers. They had a hand in these people's demise. Listen, the enemies of Africa are many. The wonderful part about it is no one's hiding or pretending anymore. Everybody's just putting it out there. Everybody's showing their hand. We have no reason to wonder or debate or try to figure out, who's this group with and who. Everybody's showing who they are. So realistically, at some point in the very near future, people, especially black people in America, they're gonna have to figure out where they fit in, because the battle lines are being drawn, and the battle's already taking place, and we're gonna have to figure out where we stand. Like a lot of people, including a lot of black people, are stating where they stand in regards to the whole Israel and Palestinian conflict, and that's good. Well, where you stand on this? Who are you with? Are you with the AES? Are you with the black people? Are you with Ukraine and France and Blinken and America and so forth and so on? Right? Because that's why I put this information on the table, so people know what's going on, and can start seeing what's happening and start realizing what's going on, and start making a choice. Because it's obvious now, and I actually don't even know what Africa Stream has said about the AES alliance, but it's obvious that part of this whole battle is the propaganda battle, and the air battle, and the communications battle, and the social media battle. Saying good things about certain African countries is frowned upon. Finding positive articles and discussions are increasingly difficult. The narrative about the backwardness of Africa continues and is being ramped up to allow what we talked about at the opening of this, which is recolonization of Africa. If you're here in America and you think that the recolonization of Africa won't affect you, boy, you are sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. If you missed part of it, go back and watch the beginning. Go back and watch our latest short-term videos that we put up. And I will be back on probably Thursday. I think I'm gonna be on. I believe Brother Genie's coming on tomorrow, and I'll probably be back on Thursday and Friday. And Friday will be another episode of SPL Talk. So again, it's important for us to know what's going on the continent and around the world, and I will be digging into more information. What I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to at least do one show per month on international affairs, to stay as far international affairs as far as Black people. Because we also cover the steps as we go closer to the wrong direction towards the doomsday clock. If y'all know what I'm saying, right? So thank you, brother Jimmy. Thank you, brother Tony. With that, I say, brothers and sisters, Abibi Fodier and straight black pride.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DCRadical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. Abibi Fodier and straight black pride.